Ex-wife thinks I'm going against our vows because I won't forgive her and take her back. Hello, True Story. I hope you can find this story of good use for your channel. The audacity of my ex-wife. We've been divorced for a year now. I've moved on, primarily focusing on me, and I thought she'd moved on as well. Just 2 months after papers were even filed, she was with some other guy who she'd brag about to me every chance she got. She says things like, I'm glad you filed for divorce because I would have never found this wonderful man who knows how to treat a woman, who respects women, yada yada. I don't know where she'd get that I don't respect women from. All I've done was respect her. That was the issue. I was respecting someone who didn't deserve it. I'll be upfront and say why we even divorced. We divorced because she got caught talking to her ex-husband. My ex-wife was previously married, and from what I've learned, listening to YouTube channels and reading forums online on red flags, that it's a red flag to marry someone who had previously been married and divorced. The divorce increases on the second marriage, I believe, and it gets even worse if you continue. So I guess lesson learned. My ex-wife and I did not have children, but her and her ex-husband had children together. Also, another red flag, as I've learned, that it's probably not a good idea to get with a woman with children. The thing is, most women I meet have children at my age. I've grown up with a stepfather also, and my parents are still married today. So I never really looked at being a stepfather as anything bad in the beginning of my ex-wife and our relationship. Things were great. Nothing was forced. Their co-parenting seemed good. There was no issues. I shook the man's hand a few times. It just all seemed to work out. I didn't get any of those red flags that I read about with other people's stories. Things just seemed great and worked out. We were preparing to have children, but obviously that never happened, and I'm happy it didn't. I don't have a horror story where I was forced to pay child support for the kids that aren't mine or have to pay alimony. We both work jobs. We do have pretty good careers. Nothing like that. The horror story is finding out that she was still dealing with her ex-husband, at least flirting, and that was enough for me to walk away. When we first met, we had coffee together. It was an early morning date, and it was great. Both were happy. We talked about church. We talked about life in general. And of course, the topic of, okay, what happened with your last relationship came up. And I believe I brought it up. I asked her, and she tells me, well, I was married for a certain amount of years. My husband cheated on me. I tried to forgive him, but I couldn't. And he cheated on me again. And I filed for divorce. That was that, and I lost all respect for him. I just didn't want it anymore, she said. He didn't try to get her back or anything. He was okay with it. Apparently, he was done with the marriage and wanted to move on, so cheating was his way of doing so. Then I explained to her about my last relationship, and I wasn't married, but I was in a long relationship, no kids involved. We both were focusing on our careers before we were even considering marriage. And after that first date, we hit it off very well. After going our separate ways, later that night, she calls me and says, hey, what do you think about going to this show tonight? And she even offered to pay. I accepted. I enjoyed meeting her and I couldn't wait to see her again. So we went to a show. It was like an amateur night. And we enjoyed it, had drinks, and went back to my place. And that night, we made love. It was wonderful. We both enjoyed it. It was unexpected on my part, and she said herself she wasn't planning on doing that. And that's not something she typically does. But being single, after being together for so long, she really was attracted to me. And we just did it, and it happened. The next day, she came over again, and we made love again. I saw her in the middle of the week that next week. I ended up working from home, and she comes over, and it became often. And immediately, I would say our relationship started with intimate attraction. We were making love almost immediately. It kind of caused us to grow closer together. Spent a lot of time together. Got to know each other. But she would not introduce me to her kids, which I understood. I wasn't really trying to, but I would hear all about them. The topic came about, and she was asking me what I thought about it being exclusive. And she wanted to introduce me to her kids. And meeting my family and things like that. The topic of what we are came about, and she tells me that I think we'd be exclusive if I introduce you to my kids, I met your family, you met my family, things like that. When that happened, then it's real. That's when I know it's exclusive. So that told me that we weren't exclusive yet, and she probably was playing the field. But we were intimate. It was a little different for me. I wasn't really used to that. I thought we were kind of exclusive, but I guess not. And I was okay with that. I liked her. I just had fun. I just kept it fun and kept it cool. I wasn't going to stress her about being exclusive or force her to do so. I felt like it wasn't my job to do so. Every day we talked. It wasn't a day that went by that we didn't speak to each other. We'd meet up in the middle of the week and things like that. It was just working out. It was nothing serious. There were no red flags to me at the time. Maybe I did miss some, and I know some people would say, well, the red flag was that she was a single parent and she was married. You know, things like that. And I've listened to your stories. True story, and I read the comments on a lot of them. And people here, they definitely shame the men and say things like, you shouldn't have married her. It was your fault. I have no sympathy for you. And guys, I agree with you all. I hear you guys. Please believe me. I'm not here looking for someone to feel sad for me. But at the time, I just wasn't thinking it was a bad thing. It's not like I couldn't get dates or anything. I had no trouble with women ever. This woman just clicked with me very well. We had similar interests and it was fun. I had a great time with her and I was having a great time even though there was not an exclusive label put onto our relationship situation. It was two adults consenting, having a good time. Sometimes, or most times, yeah, it felt like boyfriend and girlfriend. But it is what it is. Here's my whole thought on it. If I'm pushing her to be exclusive when she truly doesn't want to be exclusive, then the relationship is going to end anyway, right? But here's also my new thoughts. If she's taking too long to want to be exclusive, don't become exclusive with her, because if you think about it, she's weighing her options. You may be a plan B or plan A, whatever. You're an option. So there's other people on the table, including her ex-husband. So if you're just dealing with someone like that and you're having a good time, just have a good time. But don't ever make it exclusive. As soon as she says, I want to be exclusive, and that's probably a good time for you to walk away. If it's been 7 months. And let her know how you feel. I don't think you're ready. 8 months and you're just now coming to the conclusion that, okay, I want to be exclusive with you. I feel like someone would know before that. So looking back at it, I probably would not have made things exclusive after so long, but those 8 months were wonderful. I had an amazing time. I took trips that I've never taken, didn't think I'd take. Great conversations, learned some things from each other. It was great. Nothing I regret at all, really. But that's just my 2 cents on when to slap labels on relationships. Or should you be exclusive at this time, or how long it should take. I also think that it's the woman's position to bring it up. I don't think a man should pursue being exclusive with her. Anyway, we married. I'm going to speed up to that part. No issues with the kid's father. Everything was great. Until I saw that my ex-wife's husband sent a text message to her at midnight one night while we were drinking wine. He's saved as David, so I knew it was him. I said, why is David texting you? And at midnight. He doesn't have the kids, and the kids were home with us. She tries to laugh it off, saying, I don't have time for this bull crap. I tell her to hand me her phone, and she unlocks it and says, go ahead. I read it, and she's asking, so what did he say? I said, he's asking you if I'm asleep. She says, no, he probably meant the kids. Are the kids asleep? She tried to snatch the phone back, but I held on to it and started reading through the messages. A lot of messages about the kids. Then I started seeing flirting messages back and forth. Some she even initiated herself. I miss you. If you would have acted right, then I would have stayed, but you wanted other women. That was enough. But he even sent her pictures of him in his underwear showing off his print. I told her right there, we are done. Her response was, whatever, it is what it is. I filed for divorce and went through the long 8-month process of divorcing her. It was some of the most frustrating 8 months of my life. We divorced, no alimony, child support, or any of that. I was a free man. Immediately after I filed, though, she bragged about some guy she was dating and said something told her not to marry me, but she ignored her gut anyway. It was ridiculous. So recently she got in contact with me. She even started crying during the call, but she said to me that I was an evil man for going against our vows and not sticking with her through thick and thin. She swore she never cheated. I was asking how she was able to move on so quickly within 2 months of me filing, and she said she immediately jumped on Hinge because she was lonely and she never had any feelings for her ex-husband, so that wasn't an option. She cried and begged me to take her back and said she didn't mean the harsh things she said to me during our divorce proceedings process. I told her no while she was crying and I hung up the phone. I don't know whose number she called from, but I blocked it. It hasn't been too long, but I still haven't heard from her, so hopefully she gets the point that I'm done with her forever. I do miss the kids. That part sucks, but oh well. They have a father, and eventually they'll just forget all about my existence.